Well, hello, guys. Welcome to this extraordinary episode of What Works in Government Contracting. Before we dive in, hi, I'm Timothy Maurice, your behavioral psychology author, and we are celebrating Women's Month with an extraordinary leader. I do want to thank our partners, KDM and Associates, who are the powerhouses of understanding the insights of what goes on inside of government contracting. Our federal operator, Mr. Keith Moore, and his entire team. Thank you for the wonderful work you're doing in helping us bring this episode. I have with me Miranda Bouldin. She's the president and CEO of LogiCore Corporation. Miranda, what's up? How are you?
Hey, I am doing good, Timothy. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I think the greatest privilege I have in my career is to be able to sit down with extraordinary people like you, particularly this time of year. This is an ongoing series where we interviewed some of the world's most extraordinary women. And I'm so delighted to be able to have a chat with you. How are you feeling? How have you celebrated Women's Month, by the way?
I'm feeling great, doing good, and I've been to a number of celebrations in our community, a couple at the universities around town, and I've also celebrated with folks on LinkedIn and just some of these social media
Nice.
channels, and also as part of my workforce, we did some things here, just had a little recognition of women, and just try to really, really enjoy, Women's International Month.
Nice, nice, nice. You know, the thing is, I look at you, you've got so many years experience in federal contracting, but you look so young. You got to tell us the secret.
Well, I started very early in my business. As a matter of fact, I was a sophomore in college. And so I've been in business just a little over 20 years, 22 years exactly. And so I guess I just kind of stayed below water working that.
Nice. And I guess maybe sometimes that is the secret. It's like put your head down, do the
Yeah,
actual work, succeed, win, and go about life, right?
absolutely.
What gave you the confidence so young, Miranda, to really, get into this business? I mean, with 20 years experience, you've achieved extraordinary levels of success that some people only dream of. What gave you the confidence early on?
Yeah. So I think it was, I started out working in sales. In college, I was a salesperson. I sold office furniture. And believe it or not, I just moved to the city, Huntsville, Alabama. And during my sales career, I met a gentleman that worked for the Redstone Arsenal. He was a part of the Army. And he said, "Hey, you should think about majoring in logistics." And I thought, what would I ever do in logistics? And so they were about to end registration that week. And so I actually went over and I tried to register. It literally took all week. And at the end of the day, I wasn't able to get registered the way I thought. And at that last 5 minutes of the day, there was a professor and I was crying because I'd been trying all week. A professor said, "Hey, what's wrong, little lady?" And I said, "I've been trying to register all week and I haven't had any success because, at that time, we had to walk from one end of the campus to the other and have every teacher sign off on your schedule for the classes. And I wasn't able to find them. And so this gentleman said, "Hey, let me see your schedule." "Oh, I'm the last person you need. My name is Joe Jackson. I'm your dean of logistics. Be in my class tonight at 6 o'clock."
Wow.
Oh, that's kind of how it all started. That was a divine moment for me. But what literally pushed me to entrepreneurship, the path there, is I was also a single mom. Okay. I was a
Ah,
single mom, and of course, my girls were very young, and their father just kind of walked away. And so I was stuck to raise children. And so that was kind of the deciding factor to say, "Hey, how do I raise these girls as well as, work?" And so entrepreneurship seemed to be the right path for me at that time.
amazing. Let's talk about the core of the work. I mean, you've got a background um, in your sales, real estate. You really understand the psychology of sales, but I want us to make the link a little bit between that background and the
Mhm.
actual core work that you're doing at Logicorp.
Yeah. So when you're a government contractor, you are always in what we call sales mode. But of course, in our business, it's called more business development, right?
Sure, sure.
And business development is all about relationships, building relationships. People work with people they like, right? And so the key to developing business has always been find someone that you can relate to and be likable. Develop those relationships where people want to work with you and for you as an employer. And so I think a lot of that sales background that I had really, really supported moving into the logistical area. And so the academic part was great, but actually getting out there and developing that business was, key, I think. So I think all of that worked well for me.
Sure. Yeah. Amazing. The work you do in between MBDA Federal Procurement Center, let's talk a little bit about your relationship with the FPC. You are a what work solutions provider, and we're so delighted to be able to
Yeah.
partner with you. Let's talk about how important it is to have these type of relationships in the work you do.
Absolutely. And first, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Keith Moore, who's the owner operator of the MBDA Federal Procurement Center out of Washington, D.C. area. He's just an extraordinary leader, and he really pushes us to make sure that we are taking care of people and making sure that we're finding out what works. How do we find that silver bullet that allows people to grow and allows us to help them to be able to grow their business? So
Yes.
a good leader has been important. But the work that I do for the Federal Procurement Center is I do a lot of research, and I work with them to identify pipeline opportunities. So if there's a company, maybe they're a new company, which a lot of the companies at the Federal Procurement Center are startup companies. So if they're new and they have no clue kind of how to identify those opportunities, how to build that pipeline, I work with them to develop their next code strategies, their PSC codes, and I actually help do the research, whether it's sam.gov or some other portal. Then, I'll go in and help them to identify those opportunities and build out their pipeline.
If you could sit down with some of the, Doge team, I don't want to get too political here,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
if you could sit down with Elon Musk and those guys, and you could sit down with them and say to them, what should MBDA mean to him?
Yeah. I think MBDA should mean to an Elon Musk or the Dodge Efficiency Office, I would honestly advocate for continuing to grow merit-based companies. That's the
Yes.
direction that, they have identified that we, as we rid diversity and inclusion efforts, DE&I, and we're going more toward merit-based. I would say continue not just with diverse companies, but all companies. Help companies to understand what does that mean to be merit-based. And we continue to do what works. What we're doing is allowing companies to understand how to be the best, how to stand up and be
Yes.
first class in their field. This program literally does that. It helps companies to understand how to be the best, how to win, because a strong company is a strong community. It's a strong economic system. And so I think that, continuing to communicate the value of that is going to be critical. And not just with MBDA, but just say small businesses, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you could keep the name, change the name, whatever it is. We're talking
But
small businesses is what stirs our economy. And hopefully, they'll understand that. But either way, we're going to always work to build our small business base. We're going to help them to win and understand how to win and how to develop those relationships.
yeah, and speaking of winning, you're winning in life. You've got a beautiful family. You are a woman that people look up to, and we're winning by virtue of you partnering with us. And I'm so, so grateful for the opportunity to chat to you and learn from you. And that's the goal. I want to move to a close, and I want to talk a little bit about what you think other women should be thinking about when it comes to succeeding at this level by understanding government contracting. If they could put on a Miranda Bouldin hat that could help inspire their thinking, what would be in that hat so that they can gear their minds towards succeeding in government contracting?
Honestly, I would say collaboration. Collaboration. Each one reach one. And I have a strong opinion that women collectively, minority businesses collectively, small businesses collectively need to work together and to make sure that we are leaning upon each other. I think that having networks is so important. It's almost like your basketball team. This team goes and they win. This team works together. So having a good team, whether it's in every city, every state, but having that team of trusted businesses that you can work with and help build upon, because that's really the way that it works: collaboration and teamwork.
Well, Miranda, I really, really appreciate you making time in your morning. Thank you so much for joining us on what works in this federal procurement space. All the best to you and your family. Please, when you're down in South Africa, please do say hi, okay?
Absolutely. And thank you, Timothy, for your time today. It was a pleasure.
Guys, please share this episode with someone you know, a woman, a man, anyone who you want to thrive. We want to continue supporting small businesses to succeed at the absolute high level. If you're a woman listening, happy International Women's Month and all the best to you.